We got Mr. Torian here.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Right here, Automate 2026, DBR77. The world is changing. Let's get ready.
Yeah, Torian, I need for you to talk me through this. Before I press record, we was just having an organic conversation.
Yeah.
And the topic came on accomplished. My question was, do you feel it? I love exactly what you said, and I just wanted the audience to hear. What's your definition of accomplished? Because you have done some great things, which we will cover.
Okay.
But, I'm not all about color, but it's a great thing to see a brother somewhere at Automate. And I just want you to tell me, do you feel accomplished?
The short answer is no. I do not feel accomplished per se. I'm happy and I feel a bit fulfilled in being in the room, but there's a lot more to do. So for me, it's important to fall in love with the process, not the destination. Oftentimes we want the championship ring, or we want the wedding or the celebration, but what we don't see is the work that goes into getting to that point. So it's more than a point of time, it's the amount of time that we put in to get to that point. That is what I think is missing in a lot of conversation, and what I had to learn how to fall in love with. So, no, I don't. There's much more to be done.
I love that you said that, and then as we were talking earlier, you mentioned the South Side.
Yeah,
South Side Chicago.
Auburn Gresham.
This is Chi-Town right here, y'all. This
All
is
day.
Chi-Town.
Chicago. So let me clarify. Chicago wins. I call it West 187. So I grew up in Auburn Gresham. That's where my parents are from. 81st in Marshfield. I graduated from 8th grade. St. Rita on the south side of Chicago. Went to a few different high schools, but started to move in a certain direction. Got arrested a few, I don't know if I can, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
let
grown
it
now.
out.
Got arrested a few times as a minor.
Yeah.
Right? And my parents were like, listen, environment is important, and we want to put you in an environment that will help set you up for success. Not that that can't be done here. However, I was doing certain things that was not conducive to what they were trying to do. So it was really on me. So we moved to the Naperville, Aurora area. So I did my last 2 years of high school at Wabansie Valley. But I was always tethered to the South Side. I went to church at Rosen Bible Church on 111. Most of my family out south, Harvey, Dalton, South Holland, Matson, Blue Island, Alsip, right? I'm born and raised South Side. White Sox fan to this day.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you talked about the process, I kind of wanted to double back with that, because a lot of people think everything happens overnight. You get an idea, you find your rhythm, and then they automatically think, especially with social media nowadays, that show you, they make it seem like it happens overnight. I love the way that you still tied in that, although none of us are perfect, you talked about the humble parts. Jail, your parents having to sit you down and say, hey, look, get yourself together.
The work that they put in to get me there.
Yeah.
That all parents who are listening to this are trying, not all, but the majority, trying to do the best they can for their children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you here.
Yeah.
And still not, as you say, feeling accomplished, but you have to feel some type of, I'm assuming, pride to have this all come together. You are at Automate. So what I would like to know is the background of what had you dive into this, dive into your business, silence the noise. Like, I wanted to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think stories like this help people realize that they cannot give up no matter what.
For sure.
So we talked about a little bit of the ugly. Eventually, when did you realize it wasn't ugly anymore, when things started landing?
Well, so the word that I would use is struggle. I think that life is a struggle. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if we think about growth on planet Earth, I haven't found anything that grows on God's green earth that doesn't go through a process of struggle. A caterpillar to a butterfly, right? That's the whole process. So to me, the blessing and what my parents have helped set me up with is to choose the struggle. Some people don't get to choose their struggle, and I acknowledge that, right? But that's why it's so important that we try to set our children up, those that we love, for success. And then our responsibility, or what I like to call agency, I believe that things start with us first. And that might be the message that may be a little bit scratchy for the community that I identify with, but my success is not determined by other people, nor the circumstances. Now, everybody's circumstances and access to certain things are not the same, for sure, right? But at the end of the day, I have to either make a decision to take different action where I am, and or I can decide how I choose the things that I can't control. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that comes from my grandmother, Katie McCrae. Katie McCrae Davis from Holly Springs, Mississippi. That's what she taught me. That's what we grew up on. And so I just use that same mindset in everything that I do. And when things come up that I don't understand or external forces impact me, I have to determine how I'm going to respond to that. But I'm not a victim.
So you got all this family putting all these recipes in you, as far as the ingredients, I should say.
Yeah.
Where you knew right from wrong.
Most of us do.
Yeah, most of us do. But here's the dope part.
Yeah.
You latched on to the good. Well, a lot of people still tamper with what they can't really put their hands on, but they want to try.
True. That's true.
You had a epiphany, something woke you up, and now you here at Automate. And I loved how you give the shout out to the family.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, a lot of people don't credit family.
My people.
You know, they might credit the aftermath. You know, when things get good, you might not always mention the family member who made those sacrifices. I love the fact that you mentioned even down to the grandma, because it all boils down to who you are now. Still growing, still learning.
That's right.
But I have to repeat, at Automate, have your own booth.
Yep.
You
CEO.
know, the CEO.
DBR77 USA.
Come on.
Shout out to our founder and global CEO, Puritan, my brother, classmate.
Come
He's here
on.
as well. But yeah.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Like, is this your first time here at Automate?
No,
Okay.
this is our first time as an exhibitor talking about our products and what we do. So we work in digital transformation. So we help manufacturers, logistics owners, warehouses to actually automate. How do you take your analog process and move it to a digital process? So that's anything from measuring the process, how do you optimize part of the process, and then eventually moving toward automation, robotics, humanoids. But candidly, starting off with just where do we start to analyze and measure? That's where most organizations start and or should start.
So I need you to dive into that a whole lot more.
Okay.
Because it sounds like a lot to somebody who doesn't understand your world.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm thinking is, have you always felt a pull to this lifestyle? Or did you have to make your mistakes along the way, read up on something and say, hey, look, this
All the
sounds
above.
interesting?
All the above. So my advice would be, and what I've applied in my own life, is continuous learning, right? A lot of times we get to a point, maybe we make enough money, we do something, we think we make enough money, we don't. And then we stop learning, and then we just start doing, kind of on autopilot. I've had to really detach myself and say, no, life, no matter how old you are, no matter what you're doing, feedback is a gift, and you should always be learning. The question is, what are you learning, from where, and then what are the intentions behind the lessons, especially when you give feedback. So that's been really important for me and successful. One of the things that I had to detach from in my own upbringing and some of the communities that I've been a part of was taking feedback as a personal attack. Some places it is, a lot of places it isn't. How do I discern the difference? And in places where it's coming with good intent, that's a learning opportunity. If my mindset is, I want to get better.
I like that you said that. It starts with the mind, because even though people say it's how you say it, I grew up in a family that's very blunt, but it came with a lot of love attached to it, and it was my responsibility to either absorb that as constructive criticism, how can I make it better, or drop the ball and get offended.
Which is why you're here at Automate.
Yes.
Building a podcast.
Yes. And
The only
speaking,
black woman that I've seen in here doing such,
you better say it.
and doing it with the materials and the tools that you have.
Just
and that's
with-
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's the difference between those that watch the world change and those that are a part of the world change. My friend, my brother. Now, we say death by robots. It's a joke. It's a joke. It actually came from Aston Martin. I mean, it's his story to tell, but essentially, Aston Martin, the car maker, has a DB version. He was looking at it one day. He was like, oh, it's short. I think he was born in the year 1977, and we came up with DBR. R stands for Robot 77. So it's not as compelling as could be marketed, but that's the honest to God truth of how we came up with the name. Now, what it's turned into is an organization that is pioneering industrial intelligence, right? How are we taking information that is becoming more ubiquitous and putting that into manufacturers, logistics, and suppliers' hands so they can utilize it to optimize and become a better organization?
I like that. I actually like the name. Seriously, like.
Yeah. It's all right. That's
yeah.
what I try to tell. I'm like, we can run with that.
No, it's so dope. I mean it. I'm not just saying it because I messed up and you correct. No, it's dope because I think it attracts certain people. Like, okay, that you know, you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So since I'm on that topic, we have a lot of black young men, young women who might be lost as far as what next direction they can take. They might not have the hands-on with technology, or they might think it's boring, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is it something that you can share with the audience? And I don't even mean little ones. I'm talking about people in our age group that might have to start life over and they've always had a pull to technology or just trying to start something, becoming a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Is it some form of advice? As
Oh,
you
I
look
have
into this camera.
I have some advice
Come
for you.
on.
Just for you.
Yes.
Listen real close. It's basic, but it's universal. Where your attention goes, grows. So the first thing you have to audit is where are you spending your time? Where does your attention go? If you're on social media, are you learning when you're on social media, or are you being entertained when you're on social media? So it's if you say you want, and you asked me a question earlier about what helped me with this transition and move into this space, I look at people who have the consistent results that I'm looking for. So that's what saved me in my life, because I would see certain things, dope boys, whatever, people doing certain stuff, and I'm like, that looks cool and may look fun right now, but when I look at the long-term results, that's not what I want for me. So it was very easy for me to be like, we good, but I need to stay away from that. Same thing translates to where we are right now. Where our attention goes, grows. So if you really want to make that transition, first thing I would say is carve out an hour every day to learn something new. And that's hard. But getting back to the struggle conversation, nobody said this was going to be easy, but the blessing that we have, even if you're in a dire situation, is you have the agency to choose that struggle right now. But it's up to you. No one else.
Choose your struggle.
You choose your struggle. It's going to be a struggle,
Yeah.
but you can choose it.
And I love the fact that you talked about social media. This
Yeah.
is something that I have posted about, and this is just confirmation. The platforms, any social platforms, was built for networking. Somehow it became, look at me, look at me, look at me, and less about your business.
Yes.
What I have witnessed is people beginning businesses or businesses that they don't talk about and they don't post about, but I know they personal business like yesterday.
Right.
What I would love to do is go back to that, where we talk about our business, the importance of it, because in my opinion, it lifts the other person up. Somebody who might not have wanted to dive into a certain business, the minute you post about it and you keep being consistent about, hey, look, this is what's going on in the world. Not the selfies, not the hanging out, not the brunches, but this is what let's connect. So I love that you brought that in there and saying, be intentful. Whatever you post, make sure that the other person can learn from it, grow from it. I love that.
It's important.
You didn't say exactly that. I just put my little spin.
I'm with you. That's exactly what I meant. But if we go back to that original comment, for you got to say, where is my time going? So if I'm a part of a community, if my friends have weekend plans as opposed to lifetime goals, you have to reevaluate where you're spending your time, talent, and treasure, where your attention is actually going. That's up to you, no one else.
That's right.
Because you can't say well, you can, but likely you won't get the outcomes that you desire. So you have to align your attention to the outcomes that you desire. And surround yourself with people who are actively working toward their plans, not working toward doing something on the weekend.
You're right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right, but see, once you become the status that you are, it really is about making positive impacts.
Always.
You know, it's not, this is just me talking.
Yeah.
It's not about kicking it. Been there, done that.
Right.
It turns a point where the page has to turn and you want to be a part of society so you can leave that nugget behind.
That
you
is
can
correct.
have somebody say,
That's correct.
wow, you know, it was worth giving up the club and it was worth giving up all of that if you can make a positive impact to have somebody like you turn themselves around.
Well, I would look at it this way. I don't even say giving up. How God, Allah, Yahweh, the universe, whatever noun you want to use, what you associate with, it dictates that there's a trade-off for everything. Every action has an equal but opposite reaction. That's the laws of physics that we all agree to, right? And so what I've done, and I think is important, is to say, this is what I want, and then understand that there's trade-offs to that. We're sitting here right now, which candidly means I'm not talking to potential customers. I'm not saying we shouldn't be sitting here. It's not a bad or good. It just is, right? So I have to acknowledge that and say, is this worth my time? And 100% this, and you are, right? But there's a trade-off to it. I'm here right now, which means I'm a full-time caregiver for both of my parents. That means I can't be with them. There's a trade-off to that too. So understanding and accepting that is extremely important. And then as you start to map out your life and where you want to go and what you want to do, or pivot your workforce, which is, I work in that as well, then you understand I'm doing this, which means I'm not doing that. That's why I think a lot of us miss the boat and kind of planning things out.
I do too. I think, and I love that this turned into such a raw conversation because it's not always candy and roses. You mentioned balancing your career life, okay?
Yeah.
And then both parents.
Same time, right now.
Same time.
Yes.
So at one point you here and you're trying to be here mentally, but as a caretaker, at times I'm sure you are somewhere completely different. And I would love for people to know that too. You know, just being a CEO.
Yes.
Having to, like you said, conduct interviews and prioritize those interviews. So I appreciate you prioritizing those interviews and then taking that hat off, having your small talk in the car, whatever you do to kind of bring it down, and then seeing your parents, both of them, the people who raised you.
Transitioning.
Yeah.
They're dying.
So how are you balancing all of this out? The CEO role, you know, and then you the baby boy, you know, taking care of parents, and you got to be strong possibly around other family members, and then you got to be strong being the CEO.
Yeah. Well, there's some fallacy in that because we are not strong in perpetuity. A lot of times strength means asking for help, which I've not always been good at. In fact, I'm not good at it now, to be quite honest with you. But again, that's the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Part of the trade-off is understanding yourself, being candid with yourself, and then how do you detach from certain things? I mean, that's how you build. I like to talk about agency. Agency is important, right? I'm not a victim. I have agency, which means I have choices, and I can own the outcome of those choices. Understanding and really looking at mental health is something that is real. I had to seek help to help me through a lot of that. Talking about that, particularly coming from how I identify as African American, black male, these are not things that, at least in the community I come from, are not really spoken about. So I had to step out on the limb and be a little bit courageously vulnerable and do that as well. But modeling that is a part of leadership. In fact, I would offer that that's a leadership model that we need at the future, because everything you see here at Automate is about what? It's about tasks being automated. So that means how people identify A lot of us identify with what we do, not who we are, and that's shifting. Because now robots and humanoids and different things will be able to do the task. So it's up to us to say, well, what does fulfillment mean to me? And then how do I go out and start to seek it? And part of that is, yes, you need to push and fall in love with the process. But what I'm still in process of learning and accepting is that you also have to learn how to recover and ask for help at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a balance between the two.